Good morning and welcome to our Vision Zero meeting for May. This is our third meeting for the year, and we welcome this morning First Sergeant William Johnson with the State Highway Patrol, Mark Azell with the Governor's Highway Safety Program, and we've got Drew Cox. Drew's our Division Engineer for Division 6. So welcome everyone, and thank you for being with us. I'm gonna close down my camera because we've got some slides we want to advance. And so before we do that, want to do just some housekeeping. So if you remember, please mute your mics. That helps all of us, keeps it from having any background noise. You will have an opportunity to ask questions after each presenter, and we are recording this public meeting. And as always, our videos can be found at ncvisionzero.org/Robeson. Just want to give a quick recap of kind of where we're at now, where we've come from. Unfortunately, we finished last year where we began in 2017 with 53 fatalities on our highways. Our numbers were up in 2020, but this was not just Robeson County. This was a phenomenon we've seen across the state and really across the United States as part of the pandemic effects on our traffic patterns. Unfortunately, we're just once again going in the wrong direction. We're seeing an increase in fatal crashes for a second year in a row. And the number of traffic deaths is also up this year. So far, for 2021 through April, we had 24 traffic deaths in Robeson County, compared to 17 in the first 4 months of last year. That's just not a trend that we want to see. Keep in mind that this is just a snapshot of the first 4 months of the year, and it's not a large sample size, so we've got time to slow this growth in deaths. The next slide, if you will, is our deaths on unbelted folks not wearing seat belts. Let's look at these preliminary figures a little closer. And if you look at it, more people are dying this year not buckled up than last year. Our numbers this year on unbelted deaths, again through April, which is a third of the year so far, we've had 11 deaths compared to 4 in the same time period last year. That's a problem that we've got here in the county. And it's really so simple just to snap on a seatbelt. We need to tell everyone we know where we work, where we go to school, where we church, to buckle up every seat, every time, because it truly saves lives. And when you see that we've lost 11 people this year in our county from unbelted seats, the occupants in a vehicle, it just makes no sense. That we can do better than that. The next slide shows both the speeding and unbelted. So if you look at the slide, this slide shows some of the figures and percentages. And again, these are also disturbing trends when you look at this year compared to this same time period of last year. The percentage of people killed in crashes who were not buckled up or who were speeding is also up. As we always say, one death is one death too many. So if you look at the percentages, the percentage of folks killed and related to speeding this year is 42% of the deaths compared to 24% last year. If you look at those same percentages, the percentage of folks killed in traffic accidents in the first 4 months of this year is 58% compared to only 40 last year. So we just need to continue to work hard, continue to stay vigilant, because as we say, every life matters, and one life is just one too many. As we've talked about from the beginning, we know it's aspirational, but our goal is 0 deaths. And we just have to do what we need to do to keep working at it. So where do we go from here? For starters, the Click It or Ticket campaign is underway right now. We had a kickoff on Monday morning, and the kickoff was right here in Robeson County. We held it virtually. But across the state, our partners in law enforcement are conducting checkpoints. We also have a Local Heroes ad campaign on television in the Robeson County market. You may have already seen the ad on TV, and we'll also hear from others today and how we can boost seatbelt usage this year. At this time, if you've got any questions, we'll entertain that. But if not, I'd like to introduce our next speaker. And our next speaker is Mark Ezell. Mark's the director of the Governor's Highway Safety Program. And Mark's someone that is not a stranger to us. Mark's been a presenter before for us. So Mark, welcome, and thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Grady. I appreciate that. It's always a pleasure to be with you. I had the pleasure of being in Robeson County last week, in fact, to talk about this issue. So I wanted to just talk a little bit. Grady has been kind enough to cover some of these points, but essentially, you know, the statistics that Grady just showed seem to indicate that one of the areas we have really got to concentrate on in Robeson County, everywhere really, but in Robeson County, and we can make a really significant impact on, is seatbelt use. It's sort of like the trends that Grady was just talking about that are dangerous, but frankly, we've seen them nationally. This decline in seatbelt use, we have seen nationally. It's not just Robeson County. It's not just North Carolina. It's all across the country. In 2018, our statewide belt usage rate was 91.3%. Last year, we surveyed it, and it was 87.1%. And in each year, we've seen it kind of decline significantly over the past 3 years. Yeah, that decline has been especially bad in the southeastern part of the state, around Robeson County, Columbus, areas like that. And oddly enough, Mecklenburg County. Mecklenburg's another place where we've seen a significant problem. So we're getting ready to go into the summer travel season. Memorial Day is the unofficial kickoff of that. It's also the unofficial kickoff of what we call the 100 most deadly days, or the 100 deadliest days, because a lot of research shows that the summer months are especially deadly on our roads. So we've got to do something about it, and we've got to really concentrate specifically in what can we do in these individual areas that are clearly a problem. And in Robeson County, as Grady just mentioned, the percentage of people who have died who are not wearing seatbelts is much higher than it is in other parts of the state. So what do we do about it? There's a few things. We've really got kind of this three-pronged approach that we're looking at for May and for June to educate people about the importance of seatbelts and to have enforcement activity around seatbelt use. We have our, I mentioned the statewide seatbelt use rate. That rate is determined through a survey that's done with a contract we have with NC State from the beginning of June to about the midpoint of June. And it surveys 15 counties, and one of those counties is Robeson County. So you may see some surveyors out at the side of the road with a clipboard just checking to see what the seatbelt use rate is. Now, those determinations and whether you're wearing a seatbelt or not something that's shared with law enforcement. It is merely a university-led survey that helps us determine our statewide rate. But we're going to see that some in June. So we've done efforts and will continue to do efforts to publicize the importance of seatbelt use in Robeson County in advance of and during that survey. What are we doing? Well, one, as Grady just mentioned, we had that Click It or Ticket Memorial Day campaign kickoff. It was a statewide kickoff, but it focused on Robeson County. Now, we do this Click It or Ticket campaign every year around Memorial Day. We were fortunate on Monday to have Grady there presenting Colonel Freddie Johnson, the new commander of the State Highway Patrol. Eric Boyette, the Secretary of DOT, was there, IMC'd, and we were really happy to have Kendall Chavis, who's an offensive lineman with St. Paul's high school football team, which y'all know has done really well. He's a senior there, and he's also somebody who's been involved in a crash. So highlighting his personal story and doing that kickoff focused on Robeson County is part of that public awareness piece. In addition, as I mentioned, I was in Robeson County last week. I was there because we're doing a significant public awareness campaign in southeastern North Carolina. I had an interview with Robesonian, which has done such fantastic press throughout the area. I had interviews with 2 local radio stations and a South Carolina TV station while I was there. We're doing as much press as possible that covers the Robeson, Columbus, and Southeast North Carolina area to try to increase those rates. I had an interview with WWAY over in Wilmington, which I think carries some into Robeson County. So that public awareness piece is really key, and we're going to be focusing that for the next 2 months. We've got, of course, our Saved by the Belt program, as we always have, where we highlight one person who has been saved by wearing their seatbelt and highlight their stories. Part of the reason we do that is to obviously publicize what they've done. We got an ulterior motive though. Our ulterior motive is to have those people as seatbelt advocates in their local community. So that's part of what we do with the Saved by the Belt program. And then finally, and this is what's really exciting, we have a localized TV ad that is being run online and on TV in the southeastern North Carolina area that addresses the impact of responding to crashes. And it features law enforcement officers who are local folks, people that you know, some people who are on this call. And we've got 2 ads. as I mentioned to you, Mecklenburg County is an area that we're concerned about. So we have one that's Mecklenburg County focused. And then we've got another, though, that's focused around Robeson and Columbus counties. Two areas that are going to have this seatbelt that are part of the 15 county survey for the seatbelt survey, and two counties where we've seen a decline over the past couple of months. Or the past couple of years. So what we're going to do now is queue up the Robeson County ad and show that for you. I think you'll be very impressed, and I think you'll see some faces you remember. So we're going to cue that up now.
Thank you.
I'm just really impressed with that ad, and I thank the officers for participating in that. You know, what I love about that ad is it localizes the problem, and it talks about why law enforcement enforce seatbelt laws. You know, it's to protect family, it's to protect friends, it's to protect their community, because Robeson County is their home. So that's a great ad. That's going to be running from now until mid-June. And we call that our local heroes ads because those highlight the great work that law enforcement does in that area. So those are just three of the things that we have going on: Click It or Ticket, our public awareness, and the local heroes ads. And we hope that between those, we can increase seatbelt use there in Robeson County. And that's not the only thing we got in the toolbox. We got some other things that we're planning as well, including ways to reach out more effectively with clergy and other folks in Robeson County. But mostly, I'm just here to listen and try to find out what some of your suggestions are to deal with the seatbelt use issue. So, Grady, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Mark. And, you know, Mark didn't give the numbers for Robeson County, but I'll give you the numbers. Mark said that the state average was 87%. Well, Robeson County's 78% last year. So the state average was not good, and we're 9 percentage points below the state average. So we've got work to do, and it's a real, it's a concern, and just has to be a lot of effort to go into it to just change that culture, to cause folks to buckle up, because I mean, we know it saves lives, and we just need to do it. As part of my presentation Monday morning, I wanted to make sure, because sometimes we just take it for granted, but I just want to make sure that First Sergeant Brent Lewis with our state patrol here, with our local troop, Sheriff Bernice Wilkins in our sheriff's department, and the police chiefs and the police departments all throughout our county, just know that we appreciate what you do every day to keep Robeson County safe. And thank you for all you do. Thank you for your efforts. Our next presenter is First Sergeant William Johnson. Sergeant Johnson's with the State Field Training Coordinator, the Speed Measure and Instrument School Director with the North Carolina Department of Public Safety at the State Highway Patrol Training Academy. First Sergeant Johnson, welcome.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hunter. I'd like to thank everybody for this opportunity to come and speak and talk with you just a little bit. As he alluded to, I'm stationed here in Raleigh in our training section at the training center at the Highway Patrol Training Center here in Garner. But I've got ties down east. Number one, I live down there, little town of Garland, which is right on the Sampson Bladen line. And you know, we run in small circles. It's amazing. I didn't know anything about what the meeting Division 0 was until I talked with Miss Cheryl. And it just so happens that the first sergeant in Robeson County, Brent Lewis, he and I were shift partners together many years ago. Like I said, I've got 25 years in law enforcement, and the last 10 of those have been in training. What I'd like to talk with you about is basically what the Highway Patrol is doing from a training standpoint, and also from a district level. Now, I spoke with Trooper Hunt from down there, and I also spoke with First Sergeant Brent Lewis yesterday, actually, and we got to talking about it, and I was like telling him about me coming on and speaking with everybody, and I was like, man, I'd love to know. I said, what are y'all doing? Because we're so spread out that each district, they take and look at we are data driven, so each individual district may operate a little different, or how they tackle you know, the problems that they face. And for the Highway Patrol, the big three has always been you know, driving while impaired, speeding, and seat belts. So when I talked with First Sergeant Lewis down in Robeson County, he was telling me, you know, some things that they were doing. And now with the COVID ease up on the mask requirement, they've actually started doing some saturation checkpoints. Also, they do LiDAR projects. And just recently, they did a LiDAR project where they took about 6 troopers out to I-95 there in Robeson County in a 3-hour period. Between a 3-hour period, they wrote over 100 citations for speeding. And so that's some of the things that they're doing. When I say data driven, all of the Highway Patrol, we do what we call, we look at the numbers, and one of the ways that we try to combat or have a game plan to go about changing behavior. You know, ultimately what we want is voluntary compliance with the law. But if you'll see, if I can change my screen here and get there we go. If you'll read the caption there, it says it's only necessary to resort to the most cursory observation to find the evidence that many drivers of automobiles and their desire to put their novel and rapid machines to a test of their capacity drive such vehicles through the streets with reckless disregard for the rights of others. That came out of a court case in Brazier versus the city of Philadelphia, and this was in 1906. So this speeding, it has been a problem for us since the existence of automobiles, and we're always looking for new ways to try to combat that problem. One of the ways that we're doing it, I told you the saturation checkpoints that they're doing down there, the getting back to the top 5 roads program. One of the ways that we do it is the first sergeant in that district, every quarter, they'll put the top 5 roads up. Top 5 roads is where the accidents occur at in that particular district or county. And then they give that information to the troopers, and that gives them a flow plan or a map of where they need to work. And they go out and they work these areas, and then they do what they call assessment, reevaluate. Is it working? And what we found is that it does work, but we're always having top 5 roads. So what happens is the top 5 roads change. So it may be 5 roads, and then the next quarter it may be a totally different 5 roads. So, but we're constantly evaluating and changing and chasing that rabbit and doing our best to make a difference. Some of the things that we're doing on I-95, and we work with DOT, very, very close with DOT, doing the SOP projects. And that's where off-duty troopers, on their days off, they can go out there and they work a shift actually where they get an opportunity to be proactive the whole shift that they're out there, instead of reactive, going to wrecks and calls and things of that nature. They get to spend their entire shift focusing on citations, seat belts, speeding, and driving while impaired, which are the big three. And they have 30 shifts right now in that I-95 corridor. I spoke with the Troop B commander, Shannon Whaley. I spoke with him last week, and we were talking about, what are they doing as a troop? And he said they have had the opportunity to add 15 extra shifts. So that's a month. So basically that's every 2 days we get an opportunity to have a fresh set of eyes or somebody new coming out there, because it's not always the same trooper, to come out there and to combat the speeding problem in the particular counties that they're working. I think that this slide here that I've put up, it's already been expressed. I mean, I think everybody knows that the relative risk of a fatality goes up as the speed goes up. I teach speed measuring instrument to our members on the patrol. That, as part of my duties as the school director, I do that. And I took this directly from that lesson plan, and I got to looking, I got to thinking, and even when you're talking about speed, if there was a study, if they raised the speed from 55 to 60 miles an hour, it didn't really change how many or the number of wrecks that we have. But what it does is it drastically changes the severity of those wrecks. So you would have a relative 1 to 2% increase in wrecks, but a 9% increase in the injuries and fatalities from those wrecks. And that 9% increase actually translates, into 3,500 lives when we're talking about statewide. So that's why it's very, very important to us to work on these problems and work in partnership with other agencies. One of the things that as an agency that we're doing is that, like I said, we're reaching out and doing combined work with, like, if I'm a trooper stationed in Robeson County, then I'm working real closely with the Robeson County Sheriff's Office and Lumberton PD, Maxton PD, so on and so forth, to try to do that in these particular areas. The saturation checkpoints, we try to do them together. So we'll have sometimes maybe multi-agencies working so that the people can see us out as a group, because we're all pulling together. One point that I haven't heard mentioned that I'd like to point out is, from a training standpoint for us, for me, as the school director, is our partnerships with our community colleges. Mr. Chuck Cochran and Lee Henson from Robeson County Community College, they are top notch when it comes to helping us get our training in. And what I mean by that is naturally we're spread out all throughout the state. We have troopers in every county, and it's just not feasible for me to bring them all to Raleigh. So a lot of times I reach out to community colleges, and Robeson Community College has always been a big help. We actually send at least probably 10 troopers every other month down there to do the recertification training on our SMI instruments. And that's why I put this slide in here, as what we can do together. That's one of the things, partnershiping and just realizing that, hey, we're all here to help each other, and that the Highway Patrol stands ready. Anything that you need from us to combat this problem and to lower the death tolls, because from the statistics that were put up earlier, I can tell that, we've got our work cut out for us. But I can tell you this, I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but I have a son that's a trooper, and he's stationed down east. And, what we teach and what we preach all the way through training, and then once they get out there on the road is saving lives and helping the motoring public. And that's our main goal, and that's what we're here for. So if anybody has any questions or anything, I'll be free to take those at this time. And if not, like I said, my name is William Johnson. I'm stationed here at the Training Academy. You feel free to call and ask for me if there's anything that I can ever do to help any of you. I'll be more than willing to do it.
First Sergeant Johnson, this is Cheryl Leonard with the Governor's Highway Safety Program. You talked about saturation patrol. I think many of us are familiar with checkpoints, whether they be booze it, lose it at night, or some of the checkpoints going on now with the click it or ticket program. So we're hearing from different leadership, different folks saying that saturation seems to be the thing now, where law enforcement are getting together. And I know law enforcement get together as well when they do checkpoints. So can you tell those of us that aren't doing this for a living what the difference is, and is the success rate of what we're trying to accomplish at the end more productive with saturation as opposed to a physical checkpoint?
I feel like it is, and a lot of it is from a personal standpoint. And like I said, if you think about, I've been in law enforcement for 25 years now. And if I'm off duty in my personal vehicle, driving down the road, if I see a police vehicle, whether that be the highway patrol, sheriff's office, or whatever, the first thing that you do, I think it's an innate skill that's built into us. The first thing that you do is you look in your rearview mirror to see if they're going to turn around on you. Not that you're speeding or anything, but but I know that is a concept that's out there. So what they try to do is if we put as many law enforcement officers on a stretch of road, let's just say on 95 from the 20-mile marker to in Robeson County to the South Carolina line, or any stretch of road that you might be familiar with. If it's the more that you can put out there, the better off you are, because people are seeing visibility is going to, that's what I mean when I say saturation patrol. If you travel a 20-mile stretch of highway, and let's say you see 5 law enforcement vehicles, and it doesn't have to be actually driving. I mean, you're working the area, you see the blue lights. That's an innate ability to make someone slow down or give them a reason to slow down. A lot of times it's very, very hard to measure, if what we're doing, because a lot of times if I've got a car stopped on the shoulder of the interstate, the whole time I have that vehicle stopped there, I don't have no way of knowing of how many people that I slowed down, because I'm concentrating on other things. But saturation patrols are great. And that may be one of the things that First Sergeant Lewis can reach out with the Lumberton Police Department and the Robeson County Sheriff's Office and work together. And it doesn't have to be a highway patrol car. It doesn't have to be a Lumberton Police vehicle. You can get several agencies working together and having 4 or 5 officers that are within 3 or 4 miles of each other. But the patrol does that a lot, especially whenever we're working a particular event, like the no need to speed or click it or ticket or a move over event. We try to send a lot of people. That was one of the things I was going to say, that I know they have this Monday for Memorial Day, they'll be doing that on 95. You'll see 5 to 6 cars, because what they'll have to do, in law enforcement, you're either proactive or you're reactive, and that's with anything. A lot of times, if you're reactive, that takes away from your proactivity. What that means is I can go out there on 95, hey, I'm working on speeding, but then the minute I get out there, if I get a call that pulls me away, then that I turn from proactive to reactive to go help somebody, which is part of our job and which is what we do. But that saturation helps with that. So what they'll do is they'll take 4 to 5 to 6, ever how many members that they have, and they'll take 1 or 2 of them and have them answering calls, and the rest of them go to 95, and they'll work a LiDAR project to where you'll see a multitude of highway patrol vehicles on I-95, and they'll be, enforcing traffic laws then. So that's what I mean when I say that saturation patrol. You stay close together. You have a right many number of officers up and down a particular stretch of highway or in a particular area, township, whatever, whatever the case might be.
Any other
That's
questions?
great. Thank you. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
Thank you, First Sergeant Johnson. Thank you, Mark, for both great presentations. And one of the things I'd like to see us do in our August meeting, we've got the Click It or Ticket campaign going on right now. We're going to have in June survey of seatbelt usage here in the county from NC State. So it's going to be interesting, hopefully at our August meeting, do a deep dive into both those things just to see the numbers from the Click It or Ticket campaign and then the percentages for the seatbelt survey. That's going to give us a good glimpse into how well we're doing with the seatbelt usage here in the county.
Mr. Hunt.
The other thing, just kind of looking forward at our August meeting, if you remember, we started one of the groups that we invited to our meeting when we first started this campaign back in 2017 was our faith-based community. We hope to invite that community again at our August meeting. So hopefully, we'll do a lot of outreach over the next couple months to our faith community to try to get as many of those folks as possible to our August meeting, because we need that message going out in every direction we can as far as our efforts and what we're trying to do.
Grady, I
Yeah.
had a couple of hands up. I think some reference wanted to share something dealing with enforcement measures that are going on. Shane Todd.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
uh-huh.
can.
Let's make sure I'm on a different computer today. We've been having saturations in checkpoints this week. It started Monday with the Robeson County Sheriff's Department. And, we're talking about saturations versus checkpoints. Sometimes saturations are good in certain areas where you got a lot of traffic coming and going. But for instance, Chicken Road in 211 on Monday, I think the Sheriff's Department wrote over 149 citations. But we normally wouldn't have got on a saturation because that evening we done a saturation and only got like 23. So, it comes and goes, but at times the saturations do work. And I promote both of them. We call it high visibility enforcement. So we're calling it saturation. But we're still running a campaign up to Monday. I think we're running another Monday. We'll do another Monday Robeson County, or 2 more in Robeson County. But so far they've been pretty successful. I mean, last time we were there was over 200 some citations in that one area. That was at night.
Thank you.
That's good.
Okay.
I would say that we're very pleased with the active law enforcement participation ongoing in Robeson County. So if you will let us know when you have your events, when you have your checkpoints and or saturations, you know, we're always eager to hear about the successes that you all have had to get the word out for folks to drive carefully, safely, and adhere to the messages that we have. Because I will say this, it's not always about enforcement, it's also about education. And we really want to try to do as much of both as we can. Did anybody from the sheriff's office? I thought I saw a hand from somebody from the sheriff's office. And I think the hand went down. Does anybody, Tammy or anybody might want to say anything, or from the police department?
Our speaker just now was from the sheriff's office, I think. The person who spoke just now.
He was with the forensic test for alcohol. He's the Batman in that area.
Yeah, I'm working for the test for alcohol. It's like the Batman.
Okay, I'll turn it back over to Grady.
Okay, thanks, Cheryl. That concludes our meeting. If there's no other questions, no other comments, appreciate you being here. Appreciate your time. Stay safe. Have a good summer and look forward to seeing you back in August.
Grady, could I ask something? This was a question. Have we decided possibly going back in person in August? I know you hit on it just a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly my hope. The way things have opened up, it's certainly my hope that we'll be back in person August. That's what I'm planning on. So hopefully we can do that.
Okay, and I would note that our meetings will continue to be at from 10 to 11:30. We just appreciate everybody's flexibility. We had a partnership border to border campaign that was a kickoff today with Tennessee. So we had a virtual webinar, and that ran, and we didn't want it to conflict. So we appreciate everyone's flexibility for us allowing the meeting to start here at 10:30. But next time it will continue from 10 to 11:30.
And just to piggyback on what I said a little earlier, I think, you know, just it will probably be a hybrid type meeting where we'll have both in person and virtual for folks that don't feel comfortable yet doing in person. So my hope is, I know we're doing that at DOT. We had our hybrid meeting at our May meeting and our April meeting actually. So I think we'll be able to. If there's nothing else, see you guys in August. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you all.